it's Jacqueline. So I didn't really have a topic today, but there's, just kind of like an update on more of my personal life and what's going on and whatnot. And I'm going to kind of go over, like some of my opinions on, I think I'll go into climate change. I think I'll go into the vaccine, and some government stuff, maybe some politics thrown in there. But first of all, I will go into my personal life. So I officially hit, I guess, like a milestone with my gym stuff. So I am now going 7 days a week to the gym. And I am no longer doing cardio because, so I weigh all my food, and I've been in ketosis since February. And the type of keto that I do is not like what the majority of people do, where they'll just like eat less carbs and less sugar. Mine is very clean ingredients. So like my food kind of consists of either chopped up chicken and broccoli, or it's like turkey and cauliflower, ground turkey and cauliflower. And I do full cream yogurt, and I actually mix like protein powder into it. And that's about it. I don't do these like bread substitutes. I don't do anything like that because most of them have fillers in there that are not going to be healthy for you anyway. So the type of keto I do is a very clean ketosis. And so anyway, I realized maybe like 3 weeks ago that I just wasn't gaining the muscle that I wanted. Like the definition was fine, and I was getting some results, but they were just kind of like slow and not really exactly what I wanted. So I started, no, this is about 2 months ago maybe, I started counting my calories, and I was looking at my intake, and at the end of the day, and I'm 5'9", so my calorie intake should be about 2,300 calories a day, and that's without exercise. And I was taking in, I couldn't even hit 1,800. So and that's with me like being full. Like I cannot eat anymore, and that's it. And it's such a strange thing in a world where, women are, expected to be thin and just diet and eat less and eat less. And that's the kind of thing that we've had drilled into our brains over the years. And so when I started on my journey, my fitness journey, it was actually after I went on a hike in Yosemite, and it changed my life. I started exercising, and I started learning more and teaching myself how to do these things. And now we've hit like, what's fun about exercising is that there's no end in sight. You could always improve. And so it's like in a world with no control and everything's in absolute chaos, the gym gives me this really nice level of action and reaction. And it's really satisfying. So anyway, as of like 3 weeks ago, I stopped doing cardio completely because I realized after working out, I was eating like 1,600 calories, maybe less, like 1,400, because I was barely able to hit 1,800. So I upped my calorie intake to 2,200, and that's me forcing it in, like eating in between, just being full all day long, which is rough, especially since I'm like kind of like a power lifter and I'm constantly lifting weights. And so with the calorie intake, I just wasn't hitting it. So I was like, you can't do cardio anymore. So I stopped completely doing cardio. And it sounds crazy, but I have leaned down so much since I stopped doing cardio, and all the results I was trying to get suddenly started pouring in. I mean, my arms are much more defined and toned. My abs are coming through. My whole body, it's wild because it goes against everything that we are led to believe, that you should just punish yourself instead of just lifting weights or exercising. So it truly is fascinating at how your body can still surprise you. So I'm at a point now where I've hit 7 days a week at the gym, and I do no cardio. I just walk in and I lift my weights and I walk out. I don't exercise the same muscles, so I always give the muscles an adequate, at least 2 days to rest in between sets. So in between exercises, because there's so many different muscles to work out. So anyway, and yeah, so personal life, gym life is pretty amazing, and dating life, this young one is very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I am fascinated with him in a lot of ways. So he drinks way too much, but he's very young, so you can't expect much. And I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, age is just a number." It's not just a number. There are clearly differences between 24-year-olds and say a 37-year-old. There are clear differences because most people, you know what it is that they haven't been like, they haven't been broken yet. So it's like the decisions that they make, going out and partying and drinking and drugs and sex, you haven't been broken yet, because inevitably with all of those things, there's going to be a day that, or at least there should be a day, and that's called maturity, where things like that come up and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I shouldn't do this anymore because I feel like shit, or I just don't have the energy anymore, or I can't just sleep with people randomly because maybe I kind of want some love. Or once you've slept with so many people, you realize that the best sex was the people that you actually kind of liked instead of just sex. And that's like something that comes with time. Anyway, so this young guy, he's interesting. I mean, he's financially stable, good job. And on our second date, I actually, I took him to a movie and went to go see the new Nicolas Cage movie, Pig, which is amazing, by the way. Phenomenal. Phenomenal performance. Nicolas Cage has always been one of my favorites. But this movie he better be nominated for Best Picture, and he better get a nomination for Best Actor, because it's just incredible. So I took him to this indie movie theater, and I don't think he's used to that sort of experience. And it was like, and I took him to an indie movie instead of some stupid movie, you know, that most people, I'm sure, his age are into. And so I think he's like intimidated in a way, because, you know, like, I have a nice house, I have a great job, I'm very stable, I exercise a lot, so I'm just on this like a little bit of a different level. And even in the area I live, most like 40-year-olds haven't got it together, so I've gotten it substantially together for my age. And so anyway, so we saw that movie, and the first night we hung out, we watched a movie and we had a little makeout session. And usually on first dates, I can play along, I'll go with emotions, but I'm really kind of like analyzing the person. I do that with everyone. I try to figure out like what they're going for, what they're trying to do, and it's obvious that he's just used to just like, because he's real cute, he's used to just kissing girls and hanging out with them and just having plain fun. But that's not the type of person I am. The type of person I am, I'm looking for the sharp cheddar. I'm not looking for American cheese or queso shit. I'm looking for the real thing. Like, I'm looking for that makeout session that takes you back to the best makeouts you've ever had in your life. Like, I'm not looking for casual bullshit. So, and I've always been that way. And even if it's just hooking up, that's totally fine. But I'm always looking for like the best of the best. It's always there. So on the first date, usually when I let them have their control and their moment, I'll let them, you know, try and kiss and make out. But on the second date, I brought this guy back to my house, and I was like, anyway, I was ready for like having a really good time, but he was working the next day and it was really late. But I gave him a makeout session that was like legit intense. I'm not sure he's used to a trans woman, but I also don't think he's used to someone like me in general, and a different age and my level of confidence that I have. But we'll just say that like after like giving him the makeout that I think is a good makeout at least, that poor boy's blood had run out of his face. His face was like white, and he's just staring at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I know you're substantially younger, and he's just like, you know, trying to keep it together. Anyway, he basically like ran out of my house. Like, he was like, I gotta go home, and I'm like, it was cute. It was sad but cute. So I'm not sure if he's like fully prepared for my level of where I'm at in my life, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, so there's that. Well, we're still chatting. He's just really like never checks his phone. The new generation's fascinating. Like, I know so many young people that actually leave their phone at home and don't care. So, and my generation lives on the phone. I mean, we're like on this thing all the time. And so it's a good lesson for me to have patience and get to know someone without, you know, always being, you know, chatting with them and stuff. It's like days go in between chatting. I guess it's normal. Anyway, so let's get into climate change. I am fascinated with the way things are going. So in London right now, there's mass flooding. My brother lives in England, and there's like mass flooding and stuff there in downtown London. And this is after Germany's mass flooding and the mudslides. And now China's been like, their railway cars like filled with water, like up to their chests. And climate change is truly it's South Africa, my home country. It is having blizzards in places that it's never snowed before, ever. And they're having blizzards, and people there are thoroughly confused. I mean, I have family members that are like, they don't have heating or AC. They don't know what to, they're like, they're freaked out that, that they're having that weather. And where I live, it's usually like scorching hot. Like it's like really, really hot. And it's just been like a lot of rain, and we never get this much rain. So it is obvious that it's happened. My parents live in Washington State, and they had messages all night last night that were like, be prepared for evacuation texts. And this is like for fires, because it's been 115 degrees where they live, and it's so dry, and they're having dry thunderstorms. And that's just where like lightning goes, but there's no rain. And so these storms are happening, and the fires they could see them, you know? So they have to keep waking up in the middle of the night and get prepared to leave, and they have everything packed. And they've never dealt with that before in their lives, and they're like thoroughly freaked out. And if it's not obvious enough that this world is having a massive shift, I mean, it is having a profound change. And there's documentaries and stuff. Everyone, you know, the thing is that no one gives a shit. So anyone who voted for Biden or Trump don't give a shit that if the planet sets on fire and burns and the entire human race gets destroyed. That's my opinion. Because neither one of those assholes would do anything about it, because they're morons. You know, one side, they don't even believe it exists. The other side, they pretend to believe it exists. Well, they pretend that it's important, and then they won't do anything about it. They'll just continue to keep the money rolling in with fossil fuels, and they'll say, oh, well, we'll get some electric cars eventually. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the human race will not survive past 50 years from now. Like, it's literally wiping out the human race, and people just don't seem to fucking understand. They've even linked COVID directly to the climate change because of... So in Africa, you can't fish off of the East Coast, the West Coast, Atlantic Ocean. It's illegal to fish. So pirates go in and fish anyway, because all of the fishing zones in the world are starting to get depleted. So pirates go in and fish these areas. Well, what happens is the local fishermen can't fish there to sustain their families. So they go into the bush and they eat wild animals like pigs and bats and, you know, monkeys and shit that carry viruses and diseases. And they are forced to do it. And yeah, so it's literally linked to climate change. I mean, we're overfishing the oceans. The coral reefs are dying because the biodiversity is basically dwindling. So the coral reefs keep the oceans cool, and they're dying. They're heating up, and they're dying off, and then the oceans start heating up. It's a chain of events that is obviously happening. But the human race, in my opinion, is an absolute failure. It is a complete failure. And I am rooting for the next species that might come up in about 10 million years on planet Earth that might have some common sense and some empathy. Because these people are fucking stupid. And it's getting on my nerves, like how dumb it is. And these anti-vax people are starting to piss me off too. So we might as well get into that. And the vaccine stuff. So I got vaccinated not because I wanted to. Not because I was like... excited to get the shot done. I wasn't into it. I had COVID in August last year. I got through it. It was pretty rough, and several of us at my job actually got it, and one person was in the hospital for 11 days. It wasn't a good time. And so, you know, obviously it's a real thing. Like, COVID is legit real. It exists. It's not a hoax. Most people said it was a fake virus and stuff, like all these Republicans, and then suddenly now they believe it's real, but they won't do the vaccine because they believe it's like it's in trials, it's a test. And meanwhile, everyone I've spoken to that I know of, and I deal with a lot of people that are against this vaccine, all of them have random reasons. None of them are the same reason. They're all over the place. It's like, well, I read somewhere that it's like fertility. And then I read somewhere that there's like maybe 1,500 people who have died from the vaccine. And then I've read, and I'm like, oh, for love of God. Like, when I listen to these idiots, it's like, if we have to go into another lockdown because these assholes are not getting vaccinated, I'm going to be pissed. Like, I'm legit going to be pissed off, because 99% of the people dying right now are the unvaccinated. You could still get COVID even once you've been vaccinated, but more than likely, by a massive margin, you are not going to die from it. Not directly from it, at least. And so when it comes to like the people that are dying and the new variant and all these things, if I have to put a mask back on, and if we have to go back into a lockdown because of anti-vax people, I'm going to start publicly shaming them. I'm going to start to look at them in public and mock the shit out of them, because I am sick of this bullshit where they think they're special. Like, the human race is pretty much on its last legs. And these people are, I don't know, while they eat a Hot Pocket and drink a beer and maybe a Diet Coke, which has all sorts of shit in there that'll kill you. But they don't care about that. They don't give a fuck. They don't really care about their health. If they did, they wouldn't be living that lifestyle. So wow, I just went on a little rant about that. I think I've just been really built up with this shit for the past 3 days, listening to people, these anti-vax people, and I work in a business where we'll have to start putting masks back on if things keep going, and climate change that's happening right now. It's just one of these things where I'm just really getting sick of people. I know this has nothing to do with being trans. Wow, one of my only videos that has absolutely nothing to do with being trans, but it's just I'm getting really sick of the stupidity of the human race. I mean, it really is getting on my nerves. Anyway, other than those things, life is pretty good. I mean, honestly, my personal life is pretty great. So I'm going to let y'all go on that. And I hope y'all have a great day. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.